Many people consider using ghostwriters to help with their production as the lowest of the lows. So I guess, what lengths are you willing to go to be successful? So are you going to go it alone? Or will you be open to employing the help of a ghostwriter or even a co-producer? So in this video, I plan to give you all the facts and share opinions people have about ghostwriting, good and bad. And I'm even going to weigh in on my own thoughts so you can make an educated decision about whether or not it's even an option for you. So for many, it's going to be no way, okay? But for others, it may be tempting, especially if you're able to blur the lines between what's considered ethical or right or wrong. So firstly, ghostwriters are producers that make tracks and they sell them to DJs or budding producers who then take credit for the work, often claiming they made the track themselves, and the ghostwriter gets zero credit. Okay, now when you do buy a ghost track, you do get access to all the files, including the multi-track stems, which means you could use it as a template, okay, and you could kind of make whatever changes you like, and I guess by doing so you add your own personal stamp to it. Plus you also get full licensing rights, meaning if you were to release the track under your name, and let's say the track was a hit, okay, you're going to get 100% of all the profits. Now, you may ask, right, if the track could be a hit, why wouldn't the ghostwriter just release it themselves? And the truth is, there are many elements of success, and most ghostwriters, they might be Ableton geniuses, okay, bedroom-like producers, okay, that they love to make music, but perhaps they have no intention of doing the work needed to create a brand that people respond to. And I remember once I was running this weekly club event in Melbourne, and the venue manager said to me, he goes, "There's two types of people in this business. You have rock stars, which are usually, you're kind of like the face of the business. They're the DJs, the people that draw a crowd, the party starters, so to speak. And then you have your nerds, okay? And that's like the people that perhaps want to be cool, but perhaps their passions and strengths may be usually more suited to and geared towards even behind the scenes work." And he said, you don't employ rock stars to do behind the scenes work, and you don't get the nerds to be rock stars. So I guess in that case, some of the producers may love to produce, but they have no desire to be famous, like in the limelight. They're just happy to write music and be paid for their work. And if you can make the song a hit with your awesomeness, right, then all kudos goes to you. Now, I also read this article in Mix Mag about ghostwriting, and it said many of the ghostwriters are teenagers from third world countries, and even if they wanted to be superstar DJs, hard to obtain visas and the costs associated with touring to even build a brand, honestly, no doubt limits their potential. So for them, having the opportunity to simply make money from what would otherwise be considered a hobby renders any doubts about making tracks for other people irrelevant to them. And by doing so, they can actually become professional, like bedroom producers, okay, for people who may be more focused on the performance side of things. But now, okay, does enter the argument of ethics, okay? So for instance, people may say, how can you sleep at night, as you're essentially lying to people by saying you've created a track from scratch, okay, when really someone else has made it? And honestly, this is the thing that people can't get past, and it's a reason why ghostwriting's got a bad reputation, and rightly so. In ways, right, it's straight out plagiarism, and personally, I would have a hard time releasing a ghost track and claiming it was mine without at least making some kind of changes to it and change the conversation from ghostwriting to co-production. And I was reading this article about ghost producers, right, written by Vice, and they said some of the megastar DJs are shameless when it comes to ghostwriters, and that many famous DJs with so-called original tracks know nothing about producing at all, and they're not involved with the creative process at all. And they could have 3 to 5 ghost producers that they work with, that they pay about $5,000 for their work, and then they release the track as their own, and they make millions because they're the face, they're the big DJ, they're the brand. So how do I then personally feel about ghostwriting? And would I ever consider personally using a ghost producer? Now, in truth, I could never buy a track and take credit for it, okay? It just seems like lying to me, and I know there's no way I could pull out my phone to my friends, play a track to them that someone else has made, and actually blatantly lie and say, this is mine, okay? It just seems wrong to me, and no doubt it goes against my personal code. However, I do understand from playing in a band when I was a teenager, okay, it was pretty fun, but certain people do have certain strengths, okay, and to take on everything needed to be a famous DJ and do everything yourself can honestly no doubt seem a little bit overwhelming. And as mentioned before, your strengths may be more geared towards the DJing and the performing, and other people might be better at production or vice versa. So if this is you, and let's say you're already like DJing a lot and you're playing local shows and you're finding that to take up a lot of time, and let's say you're having trouble getting inspired or even getting started when it comes to producing your own original tracks, but you want to start releasing your own tracks, perhaps some kind of collaboration could be on the cards for you, even if it's just to help you build some initial momentum. See, for instance, right, loads of producers / DJs do collaborations or even co-produce tracks, or even take an original piece of work and they rework it and make it their own. And let's face it, right, if you're just learning to produce, making a track from scratch, okay, can be seen as really overwhelming. So by, let's say, getting a ghost track, you could use it as a source of inspiration, even a template of sorts, and you could maybe even reverse engineer it, meaning you could see what a finished track looks like. You could see all the arrangements, all the stems, the different parts of the song, what happens where the changes are. And let's say you bought a couple of ghost tracks. Perhaps you could even start to see the patterns or even the formula that those producers are using. And that may, for you, right, even if you don't use the ghost track, right, but it helps you to kind of get inspiration, and it helps you to maybe take the first step to making your own tracks further down the line. However, okay, let's say you really resonate with the track that you've bought, okay? You bought a ghost track, you really like it, okay? To co-produce it, so to speak, you just need to make some changes to it. You have to put your own personal stamp on it, okay? So, for instance, you could change the arrangement up, or perhaps you could add some tweaks here and there, turn a snare into a clap, or perhaps you could even add some familiar patterns or some melodies or some riffs, or you could even use a well-known a cappella and turn it into a remix. So think of that song Ice Ice Baby from Vanilla Ice. They took that main riff from Queen's Under Pressure, and no one ever questions this, okay? It's all common practice, and many people love hearing familiar patterns in a new context, and often a successful remix or rework of a well-known track has put popular DJs and artists on the map, okay? It's also like in that movie I saw recently, Aretha, about Aretha Franklin, and it showed her putting together her famous track Respect, so R-S-P-E-C-T, right? And that song had already been released by another artist, yet she reworked it, made it her own, and she made it 100 times better, and it actually put that track on the map. And also from seeing that recent Elvis movie, okay, it seemed he did the exact same thing for Hound Dog, okay? The fact is, using other people's work for inspiration is considered fair play, okay? But I think where ghostwriting gets this bad rep is when the people releasing the track had zero to do with the creative process, okay? So using ghostwriters, by the way, it's really prominent in pop music, but no doubt it's spilling over into other formats. And I remember I was at this Anthony Robbins event, okay, and one woman there claimed she was a ghostwriter for Katy Perry's Firework. And even in that movie, Funny People with Adam Sandler, okay, his character in that movie was a comedian that employed other comedians to help write material for him. And yeah, sure, these ghostwriters in a way, okay, they were other comedians, they were paid for their time, yet the main comedian employing them, okay, he was the brand. He took all the credit. Now, does that make it right or wrong? Now, only you can answer that, as nothing has meaning except the meaning you give it. And on one hand, producers are getting paid, okay, and the DJs are getting some help with their producing. Yet on the other hand, producing is art, and art should probably come from within and not be turned into some corporate money-making machine with no heart or soul, okay? Ooh, okay, so now you know the facts, you have to ask yourself some questions, okay? Number one, are you content to be a DJ, okay, and play other people's music, or do you also want to have your own tracks? Now, personally, I went the DJ route, okay, but in saying that, I was also running weekly club events, and even though I did an Ableton course at one point in my life, I soon realized being a producer, it kind of felt like it was going to be a full-time gig, and I was too busy building my clubbing empire with the goal of having this touring network down the east coast of Australia, okay? So I was 100% more of a DJ, I was a promoter, I was a DJ booker, and I just didn't have the time to dive into production as much as I would have liked, okay? That being said, if you want to make it big as a DJ, it definitely doesn't hurt having your own original tracks, okay? Put it this way, right? When I was younger, I went to see Porter Robinson play, and at that stage, he only had 1 or 2 releases, okay? And when he DJ'd, his track selection, see, he was mainly playing other people's music, okay, with his 2 songs in there, even to the way he transitioned was exactly how I played at that stage of my life. Yet the main difference between him and me was he had tracks and I had nightclubs, and I'm sure having his own releases no doubt helped open more opportunities for him, especially when it came to playing on tours with reputable DJs and even being like considered for festivals. So if you do have your sights set on festivals and being a famous DJ, then 100% having your own tracks is almost a prerequisite. So the question then is, are you going to be able to make them from scratch? Or do you perhaps even consider a ghostwriter? Or do you do a bit of both? So for instance, get ghost tracks and then rework them and make them your own, which no doubt blurs the lines between ghost production and co-production. And once you build some momentum, or perhaps even have more confidence, you can start to create your own original tracks from scratch, which honestly, that is the ideal thing to do, okay? Now, either way, if you do decide to go down the ghost path, okay, you have 2 options. Release the track as it comes and never tell anyone, okay? Or 2, use the ghost track for inspiration, make some changes, and perhaps even credit the ghost producer, okay? You could call it a collaboration and find ghost writers to work with, and if you feel strongly about it, you could even unmask them and tell people straight out, hey, listen, this is a collaboration with another producer, and you could even have a few producers you're working with. Like, I think that's actually kind of a little bit more acceptable. Like, it doesn't feel too bad to me. So if you do want to go down the ghost route, okay, one prominent company that was quoted in the Mixmag article I mentioned earlier was EDM Ghost Production. Now, their catalog, right, was pretty impressive, okay, and in truth, lots of the tracks on there sound as good, if not better, than the stuff that you hear on Beatport, which makes me wonder how many of the actual tracks you hear on Beatport could actually be ghost tracks, okay? So from the looks of it, this EDM Ghost Production site, I'd say it's kind of like the Beatport of ghost tracks. And in truth, I didn't even know this stuff existed until I saw that Mixmag article. And when I checked out their range of tracks, I was really actually quite impressed by the quality. Like, it blew me away actually. And I also noticed, right, they had all these advanced filters to find tracks by genre or without vocals, meaning you could get an instrumental of a track, right, and potentially add your own vocals or even get guest vocalists. That could be fun. And you can also search by BPM, price, and even choose tracks by key, which means, let's say you wanted to create a remix of a particular track. You could find a song, like an instrumental track in the same key, then add the vocal or sample, and away you go. You know, you're well on your way to co-producing your own track. Now, although my initial thoughts about ghostwriting were negative, okay, part of me when I saw this site found it actually a little bit fascinating. See, the diversity and quality of tracks on offer is insane. And I really like that you can get the actual original DAW project files, meaning you have the flexibility in tweaking tracks as much as you like. And by doing so, 100%, man, it changes the conversation from ghostwriting to co-producing, okay? Now, I guess another advantage of having tracks that you're working on is it gives you more content to post, and perhaps you can even share your experiences in co-producing music with your audience, and you can even ask their opinions and make them feel involved in the creative process. No doubt that's going to make you like very attractive actually to booking agents as you're starting to have your own material and, you know, you're starting to build your content at the same time. So just remember, if you want to produce but you feel you do need some help, at least to get started, I would be working towards co-producing with the goal of using that as a leg up to further, like, producing your own tracks from scratch, okay, further down the line, okay, once you're feeling inspired and you're building some momentum. So this is just more like a step up. If you're already producing on your own, it's probably not for you. Anyway, I'll link in EDM Ghost production below, as it's 100% worth checking out, even if it's just out of interest. But I fully understand, right? Some people may feel very strongly about this, and by no means am I supporting buying tracks and actually claiming they are your own. Okay, I personally couldn't do that. Okay, I would never do that. But this video is more a discussion about a very controversial topic in the DJ world, and I thought I'd just lift the veil and give you the full picture so you can make an educated decision for yourself of whether or not this is even an option for you. Anyway, much love, sub now and hit the notifications bell so you never miss a beat. Okay, see you next week. Bye.